I really hate to make judgments this big, but Mach may be the worst NES game ever. You can tell me all the big name bad titles for the system, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Bible Adventures, etc., etc., and I'll stick by my side and say no. Mach is the worst. Mach is a disgrace to the system. And you want to know the worst thing? This was published by Nintendo. Nintendo published one of the worst games for their system. I can't believe it. Of course I say publish it, because Nintendo had another company to code this mess. And guess what? It's another disappointment. HAL Laboratories. We all know HAL, mostly for their good games. From what I gathered, a few of their programmers worked behind the scenes at Nintendo during the early years of the FamiCom for games like golf and such. Although working on mostly PC games, this is their first big start in the console market, and boy did they drop a bad one. So why is Mach so bad? Well, let's start with this. You know the phrase, write what you know? Well, that's exactly what HAL and Nintendo should have done, because Mach feels like a game specifically made for the American market. Now you can point to a few Japanese companies that managed to pull off the appealing to the American market thing, but those were actually good games, and the big difference between those games and Mach is HAL had no idea what they were doing. Set in the apocalyptic world of the year 2112, which I'm going to take that as a Rush reference, the world has been invaded by aliens known as the Quad Runners. You are Mach the football-playing motorcyclist who must take them down, going from sector to sector looking for survivors. So now that we have the story and problem 1 out of the way, let's talk about problem 2. Mach is essentially a remake of Nintendo's F1 race released a year ago, only with an actual plot and additional gameplay. You shoot down enemies who are in your way and dodge oil cans, oil spills, and puddles of water, which will be your hazard. Reach the end before you run out of energy, and then you'll do it again for 9 more rounds. Now this sounds pretty decent on paper, but do you see that screen in the upper right? That's your rear view mirror. And even though you're on a bike, not a car, whatever. It's just there to inform you when an enemy is coming from behind. 90% of the time, the enemy coming from behind will run straight into you and cause you to lose some energy, and this is where the game starts completely going downhill. You'll try to dodge it, you'll try to slow down, but it's inevitable. You're getting hit. Unless you're super lucky and the enemy goes right past you, which is uncommon, there's only one true way of dodging the enemies coming from behind, and that's going into 4th gear, meaning you'll go super fast and are unable to dodge upcoming hazards. Everything about this game is just meant to disappoint the player. Want a fun action game? Too bad. This game is the true simulation of one man taking on an entire army, where fake examples like Contra will fool you into thinking one badass guy could take on all those men. Mach is just a reminder that you shouldn't try to do this. You're just a guy on a motorcycle who has the power to shoot bullets. Oh yeah, that's another thing that sucks. Shooting bullets. Remember how in Super Mario Bros. Holding down the B button makes you run, but there's a little bit of your thumb left to press the A button to jump. In Mach since you accelerate with the A button, you'll have a hard time actually using your blaster with the B button because your thumb is too busy holding down the A button. Did anyone really playtest this and notice this was a shithead idea? Ugh. Although the game is lacking, HAL did give a few more game modes which are about as appealing as the main game. Endurance is get to the end before time runs out and is about 0.02% better because you don't have to worry about your life running out and can die as much as you like. But all the problems with the enemies are still present, so who cares? Solo fixes my problems with the enemies coming from behind, but with that solution comes another problem. It's just you on a course alone, with no enemies. I guess I'd be happy for this, but now the game's too boring. Look, I'm fine with enemies, just don't make them cheaply run into me and waste my time, energy, and life. And finally, design. You design your own levels. I guess this is the most appealing thing about this game, but really, all these early level editors kinda suck, and this one might be the worst. And what's the point? Having a level I edited doesn't make the game better. In fact, it makes it worse. I'm terrible at level design. I guess the question should be asked if I liked anything about this game. Well, the death animation is pretty cool, and the graphics are good. But I don't think I need to tell you that shouldn't be the only good thing about your game. I really don't know how to end this review other than shame on you, Nintendo. I've lost trust in you completely. Well, until your next release, that is.